So, dear Dhamma practitioners, be comfortable yourself and relax your body. And this is our ongoing meditation session. So, let me get connected with our other students and we're ready to start the session for today. Okay, so dear Dhamma practitioners, be comfortable yourself and relax your body. Keep your back straight, neck head straight in one line and your right palm on your left. So gently close your eyes and bring attention to this bell sound. And while you're focusing to the sound, mentally relax your body, relax your mind, and relax your breathing with your thoughts. So do nothing extra. Just follow the sound, please. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Exalted One, the fully enlightened One. So, dear Dhamma practitioners, before we start our practice session, as usual, we'll take few minutes for ourselves to understand how this meditation can help for us to develop our spiritual path, and at the same time, how you can use this practice to develop your conventional life and gain the success as an ordinary person. So when it comes to this life, the way it happens, and we have to understand basically the very fundamental level of this life. So most of time that we develop our ideas with the self-centered mind. So why it happened like that way? Why we develop that idea? Because we believe there is a self or the soul, and out of that self we do actions, and out of that actions there are reactions come. So there is a kind of like a doer. There is a subject maintain the soul. But when it comes to the self, the very physical level of this self, and there are two ways, physical and mental. So the very physical part, in according to Dharma, names and forms. So when it comes to this physical part, if you look very carefully, and little by little, if you magnify, this any physical material, you find the molecules. And if you expand it more, then you go into atom, an electron, neutron, and it's the proton. So then you go into quarks. So in that quarks, there's another theory now keep coming. That theory called string theory. So a string theory means in the fundamental level of these quarks, there is a kind of like something called filament. It's an energy. It's kind of like a string. It always vibrate. And then when it comes to any material things, it's kind of like a net. It kind of like a bunch of filaments, the strings come together and vibrating. Oh, this is, and it's kind of like something that what you experience on this outside is not what is happening inside. So, but whatever happened that inside give the experience to this outside world. So we have to understand that very carefully. It is not something happens and it's kind of like personally because of you. It has a way, it has a theory, it has nature. That nature is it's kind of like called cause and effect. There's nothing come, or there's nothing happen, or there's nothing exists independently itself. So that is the material, that is the form level of existence, the world. Another one is the mental part. So when it comes to the mental part, so when it comes to the mind, so the behind the mind is not a kind of like you have a very preconditioned pattern that life going to happen. Even though the karma is there, this everything not happen because of the karma. And there's nothing going to happen because you have done something. There's always things can change. And when it comes to the mind itself, it's always depend on the intention. So the intention can depend on according to in this very moment of conditions. And the intention not belong to the karma, or the intention not belong to any other kind of precondition boundaries. And at the same time, there are some arguments come, these thoughts happen because of this some kind of chemical reactions. But if you look very carefully, as like matured people, we can understand if there is a chemical reactions effect for our thought all the time, then when it comes to law and order, and we can't blame to anyone because of any intention or any action, because it's just a chemical reaction. And at the same time, then we can develop that kind of chemical situations in any human mind, and then we can move them to do certain action, but it doesn't work like that way. So The predetermination doesn't work, and at the same time, this subjective experience is not happens because of the previous actions. So this, when it comes to the mind always there is a way that it behaves, and it needs the previous experience, but at the same time, it always not going to behave according to the previous experience. On the top of the previous experience, it has power to build up very new thoughts or the ideas. So somehow, when it comes to our life, that you have to understand, in the physical level, if you look very carefully, when it comes to this body, if you look all the body parts, there is no such a permanent, independent, any element exists itself. This everything depends on something. So when it comes to the thoughts also, if you look into deeper to your thought pattern or the conditions, it also not any kind of sustainable, independent, permanent thought that you're going to have always. This all change. This is a very nature with the name and form. So through meditation, you are capable to observe and understand this nature. And when it comes to our day-to-day life, how this life pattern keep going like this way? There are three reasons. Today we are going to talk about that. So one of the major reasons to happen this life like this is the greed or the desire or the holding, grasping, clinging. So in this thought and the material world, that means the name and form, has some kind of connection with the four elements: heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. So when it comes to the hardness, it has a nature to keep things together. And at the same time, if there is something weaker than that, it has power to reject it. So that's why you can keep something top of another thing, because it's always not going to keep things together. And in between this hardness, motion, liquidity, and the heat, so this always have a relationship with each other. It's always help each other. So because of that, what happens, this name and form always come together. So the greed or the desire or the lust has power to keep this heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness to move forward and create some kind of pattern. So once you release the greed or the desire or the lust from the intention, what happened, that greed, that the heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness not going to come together and create some kind of pattern itself, because it needs some energy, otherwise it's not going to happen itself. As example, the heat itself doesn't have power to manifest something. So the hardness itself doesn't have power to manifest something. It always needs to be with something. So then when it comes to you, one of the major reasons that you happen like this way, because of you have some kind of intention, you have some kind of desire. So you have some kind of lust that you hold into you with the self-centered idea, me, my, I am, so like that. That is one reason. And another reason is called the view. So always when it comes to our view, can change all the becoming. And if you look very carefully within yourself, that always within yourself, that whatever that happened and while it happened, why you are there, because deeply you have a view regarding you, regarding the world, regarding the death, regarding the birth, regarding the heaven, regarding the hell. So like that, you have a certain kind of view. So that view also have power to bring this heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness together. So one thing is the desire. It also have the power to hold the heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness together. Another one is the view. That also have the power to keep the heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness together. So when these two things come together, that means the desire or the lust or the greed and the view. That view with the self-centered idea, these two things manifest another one. That's what called the comparison. So when you have the comparison, so now you have the glue, that's mean the desire, and then you have power to hold it with the view. When you have these two things and your comparison start to manifest all the things around you. So this is a very natural, this is a kind of like a process that keep happening. But remember that each and every, these any fundamental qualities doesn't have itself to bring this all together. Itself, the heat itself, or the motion itself, or the hardness itself doesn't have any power to bring this all together. So our mind bring this all together. So if you release it from your intention, then what will happen? That manifestation start to release. And another way, if you release it from your view, and that way also the comparison not going to be there. But mainly, fundamentally, the desire and the view, once come together, the comparison going to be there. So when you have the comparison, so that means always the struggle going to be there. So when you have the struggle, it always, you finding a way and doing and the gaining things, and then you have the result with the world. So then again and again and again, you have to keep moving, keep doing things. So this itself doesn't have anyone behind this all, on this anything. But the thing is, we believe, I hold this. And because of that belief, it's going to be there. But it just not believing, you can't get out of it, because from the samsaric journey, we already build up a lot of desires, lot of views, the pattern of comparison with us. So then slowly we have to untangle this. So when it comes to each and every cell in your body, as I mentioned from the beginning, this all kind of like a filaments, little filaments create with the vibration. So that thought vibration in you, and it has a history. This is what we call the DNA or the blueprint. So then little by little, when it comes to purify yourself, rather than go with the physically purify one by one, once you go into your mind and focus to your intention, and once you purify it from that point, you are capable to purify this entire system. So when it comes to purification, how you can do that? Just reflecting on your past or reflecting on your future, you can't purify yourself. So that's why to purify yourself, you just go with the present moment. So that is the most powerful tool that you can use to purify yourself. So then when it comes to that purification, having the tranquility state, giving you the security or giving you the space for yourself to develop wholesome action. That wholesome action means in the very beginning, you have to start with your mind. So once you have the wholesome action with the mind, so one of the best wholesome action that you can have is the tranquility state. Another way we call the undisturbed mind. Because when it comes to that undisturbed mind, it helps you to reduce all the 5 hindrances. So once the thought release from the 5 hindrances, that thought purify. So with that purified mind, when you observe with your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, this perception, or when you experience that the perceiver, when you experience this perception, in that very level, it's not going to influence by your greed, hatred, or the delusion. Or another way, it's not going to pollute or override by comparison. So if you can experience anything without comparison or the dualistic mind, and if you are capable to experience things as it is in the very first level, then you create the very clear moment of experience. In that moment of experience, what happens? You release the greed and you release the desire, you release the idea of self or the view. And so then your experience itself becomes free from your own inner conditions. And that is where you can see how these things come to be as they are. So otherwise, if we always bring our experience and put on the top of this moment of experience, and we understanding not what is happening exactly from the outside, we experience what is we want from our inside. It's a totally different way of experience. So that is what most of time we keep doing. So you living means what it means. You do whatever from that the calling come from inside. So while you're reacting to that again and again and again and again, knowingly or unknowingly, you are keep moving forward, or you are creating something which you can't get out of, which we call the samsaric journey. So then the tranquility state is the moment you come to the point and you completely settle down and you start to observe and recognize. Otherwise, most of time what we do, doing and thinking and understanding. But now we come to a point to observe and recognize. So in that very level, you are capable to go into a little bit more deeper and understand. If you are not interfering to the moment with the intention, you're going to be free from the moment of becoming. If you are not interfering with the intention to the moment of experience, you are free from becoming. So with that, we are going to observe our inhalation, exhalation. So when it going to that, I want to mention another thing. This human nature, this human behavior, this human mind has a very kind of like a very tricky behavior. That one is always creating something and kind of like a going to a new thing, going to a new thing. But when it comes to this primary mental object, we observe inhalation, exhalation, little by little, little by little, we go deeper, deeper, deeper. We don't change the technique, because changing the techniques, going to different technique, going to different, that is what the mind wants. That is the very nature of this conventional level of mind. But now we are not going to address to that. We are developing some kind of self-discipline to be in the same technique and go deeper again and again and again and again. It is not just a developing habitual mind. It is not just kind of like we get used to it, but moment by moment, you have to keep the newness, but at the same time, you have to stay on the path. And again, little by little, go deeper. And the mind say, go into something else, go into something else. Because that is the very nature. Remember yourself to be disciplined, to stay and keep going deeper into the primary mental object, which is your own inhalation and exhalation. So with that, let's get into practice a little bit. So your right palm on your left and neck, head straight in one line, and be comfortable with your posture. So bring your attention to your body and scan head to toes yourself and say Sopatveva, or may I be well and happy 3 times. Take a moment and think. We gathered here in this moment to practice this ancient meditation technique. All the Buddhas, all the enlightened masters followed this path and achieved wisdom. So we also gathered here to accumulate that knowledge. In this moment with this sitting, may my body become more comfortable, may my breath be more smooth, may no difficulties come to me. May all the success come to me. Also think for a moment, this is the last moment we're spending in this very lifetime, and detach your mind from all your past memories and as well as any kind of future thoughts. Just try to remain in the present moment, observing the sensation of your inhalation and exhalation. So in the beginning, deeply and gently, breathe out 3 times and find the sensation, please. And allow your inhalations, exhalations happen itself. When it happens through the sensation, recognize it, do nothing extra. If your mind go here and there, bring it back again and again. So you don't disturb its natural process. Just keep observe. Bring attention to your body, please. Observe your posture. We cultivate loving kindness and compassion in our heart and radiate it as a light through entire your compound, village, city, state, country, world, around this universe. Also as far as you can through galaxies, other planets, stars. Reminding yourself like this. With clear intention, mentally repeat after me. May all living beings in this universe be well and happy. May everyone be happy and safe. And may their hearts be filled with joy. May all living beings live in security and in peace. Beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, visible or not visible, near or far away, already born or yet to be born. May all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. Let no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one out of anger or ill will wish anyone any harm. Expand the loving kindness and compassion beginning from your heart. Forward, visualize yourself and send it as a light. To your backside. To your left side. And to your right side. Downward. And upward. To all six directions at once, like the moon, the sun, spread the light, spread the energy, without any condition, without any limitation, without any resistance or without any judgment. Let your heart to shine with the loving kindness and compassion from the bottom of it, with the maximum effort to the highest, wishing yourself, may all living beings in this universe be well and happy. Say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So first of all, we offer this practice to the great qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. And also by the power of this meritorious deed, may all of us attain to the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May all your guardian angels and deities will receive these merits and increase their longevity and protect all of you from any kind of planetary influences or any ill effects. Ettavata ca ammehi sampadam punya sampadam sabbe deva numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe bhuta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe satta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Maya Dhamma Dhamma Patipatiya Buddham Pujemi Dhammam Pujemi Sangham Pujemi Attaya Maya Patipatiya Jati Jara Vyadi Maranam Ha Paribunjisami Idamme Punya Kamanga Savakaya Vaham Hotu Sabba Dukkha Pamunchatu. Bless you.